Hey, sober friends. Each week, our podcast dives deep into recovery insights. Our companion newsletter takes that conversation to a whole different level. It's an in-depth article that explores our podcast topic from a completely different angle. Think of it as your essential resource in sobriety, content that expands and enriches what you hear on the show. Are you feeling curious? Worried that you're gonna miss out? Head to SoberFriendsPod.com, scroll to the bottom, and subscribe. Trust me, in your journey of recovery, this newsletter could be the game-changing resource you didn't know you needed.
I went to a family gathering this weekend, which is a whole topic in itself. And I walked in with a bad attitude because I knew what to expect. And boy, there were people there immediately just irritated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Not enough food. The food that was there was really lousy. Stupidity. The conspiracy theories that I heard from people were not things I wanted to do. And I was hungry. So I was hungry. I've been tired this week. I have been... All of the hungry and the tired has made me angry. And I didn't lash out, but I was lashing out on the inside. So I'm hearing the screaming in my head. And I didn't want to. I'm like, screw you. I don't want to breathe.
I'm Matt.
Hey, I'm Steve.
Hey, I'm John.
This is the Sober Friends Podcast. We're here for the sober curious, the new guy, and the old timer. We're here to talk about the stuff anyone looking to live alcohol-free has to face day to day, and how we overcame those struggles. We speak for no 12-step group, but we do try to remain anonymous. You're not alone. This is the Sober Friends Podcast.
Steve, I get bored about certain things in recovery. We were talking about doing another Joe and Charlie, and if you want to learn a little bit about Joe and Charlie, you can scroll way back to earlier episodes of this show, even before episode 100, where we talk about Joe and Charlie workshop meetings that I think are very important. But I have to tell you, I have done countless Joe and Charlies, and it's the same. You can get different tapes and stuff, but it's the same thing. I'm not saying don't do it if you haven't done it. I would recommend doing it. And there's lots of people who can do this 20 years in a row. I'm not one of these people. And this isn't a Joe and Charlie thing. It's just more of, there are times in recovery I don't like the repetitiveness of it, especially in 12-step groups. I thought about this last week in the Big Book meeting, that there are certain chapters I'm like, I don't want to hear about the dude driving to the countryside on a Tuesday, drinking his whiskey and milk. It's like, I've heard the damn story about 100 times now.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's kind of stuff. It's always about the place I'm at, right? When we talk about this stuff, It's like when I hear that story, same thing. I hear certain stories, or read certain chapters, or go to certain meetings, and I've come to realize that it's really about where I'm at. And I feel the same way, right? We've done a ton of Joe and Charlie's together. And if you do them year after year with the same people, which is what we got into that routine, which, again, not bad. The people we do it with are people I love and care about, and good people in the program. But they can get monotonous, repetitive. When you use the same tapes or recordings over and over again, like, you just know the jokes, everything, right?
I know when the joke is coming about the mountain spring water.
Right. So one of the keys with that is, trying to mix that up with different people. And I remember our buddy Dave B used to do one. That was the first time I did it. I did it at his house. And it was brand new to me. And the key is trying to get new people in sobriety there. And if you do that, it becomes a little bit more meaningful. Like, I've done it a couple times with our buddy John at his house, and I've had, I've taken a sponsee who did it with me. The reason why we bring this up is we're talking about doing it again. And I have another sponsee who I'm going to encourage to go. And we were just talking about it before we started recording, and then said, I'm not sure I want to do one either. We had talked about doing something different this time, and But if my sponsee wants to do it, then I probably would, because for someone new in the program, it's a great, great way to go through the steps in the big book. I would do it with him.
Well, that changes the experience.
It does.
Now you're seeing it through somebody's eyes that are brand new.
Yeah, not only that, you can take it back, right? I mean, that we would still have a time where we would meet separately, and we would be able to use that, right, to continue our discussion of the steps and all that kind of. So that does make it different. So we were talking, and do I want to do it? The other, you can look back at the old episodes, but just to give you an idea, like, this is a commitment. It's like a 16-week commitment that we usually do in the winter, which is like we all have a little bit more time, but it still is for me to go out to our buddy John's house and do it. It's a 30-minute drive one way, so you got to drive out there. It's a couple hours, right? You're not getting back until late. So it's a commitment. And like I said, when you've done it a whole bunch of times, it can be an issue. And again, this is not about Joe and Charlie, but it's about complacency. It's about doing the same thing over and over again and getting bored with it, which can happen in all parts of a life, and it certainly can happen with somebody's program. And it could be really, really dangerous when it comes to sobriety and someone's program to get too bored and start thinking, oh, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. I have ADHD, which makes it much more difficult for me anyways, that I have to work really, really hard to concentrate on some things. It's a superpower, because if something is new and interesting, I can focus on a laser on it, and I can try and master it. And once that mastery has happened, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah.
This happens in the Monday Night Big Book meeting, that we go through the Roman numerals to 164. So I have read those chapters over and over and over and over again over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And generally at meetings, you have the same people. So I have heard the takes over and over and over again from certain people that I know what they're going to say before they even open their mouth. Their hand goes up. I know what they're going to say.
Right.
And I'm more interested in the shares, but man, it can be difficult looking at the clock, especially on the long chapters.
Yeah.
That I find myself, all right, let me skip ahead. Is this a long chapter? Holy crap. We're going till 8:10 just reading. What am I going to do here?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, again, and we talked about that, right? It's a little bit about where I'm at, how I'm feeling when I walk into that meeting, or how I'm feeling when I do the task I'm supposed to be doing, right? It's about me and the place. Am I agitated? Am I restless? Am I all those things? And for those of us who are in this program, the 12-step program, a lot of people will say that it depends on our spiritual condition. And I don't disagree with that. It depends on where I am sort of centered and what my center is. And lots of things can get in the way, right? There's a part in a big book, like, and I forget where it is. My buddy Edson always quotes it, but he always says, and then life blotted out what, I'm paraphrasing and messing it up, but then life sort of got in the way and blotted out the spirituality of myself and my program. And that happens all the time. And that's the danger for me, and I think for a lot of us in this program, is that if I don't pay attention to that, if I don't question, why don't I want to do this? Like, I don't think I've done it. We didn't do a Joe and Charlie last year. Maybe it's been 2 years. I don't remember. So it'd be a little bit nice to do it, but I can already see by week 3 or week 4 I'd be bored.
Yep.
It'd be nice to get up there for the first couple of times, and then I'll be like, I got to do this. Oh, it's 20 degrees outside. I got to get in my car. I got to drive up there. So that's what I have to work on in my brain, is like getting to a place, do that. Now, and again, it's not unlike that for me to go to my regular meetings, right? Just like you said, you go to your regular meetings and you see mostly you see the regular people. My Friday night meeting is mostly all the same guys, 25 guys who I like in a lot. But it's mostly the same guys.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, right? We could hear the same stories over and over again. That is why I do try to add a different meeting once in a while. And by different, I mean like a permanent meeting, but just change it up a little bit. And 'cause that does give me a fresh take. And I've talked about it, but I've added a noon meeting that I go to locally. And it's all fresh people, new people. And it's still for the most part the same people, but it's people I haven't heard, like the same thing. I haven't heard these people for the last 14 years, like some of the other people I have. So it's a work in progress. It's me trying to, I guess the other thing we talk about, we always got to do things that we don't want to do, right? And this sort of falls into that category too. Is like, I don't know, I want to do this. I'm not sure I want to do this. I don't know. I always got a question that, well, then maybe I should do it.
Totally lost my train of thought. I had something there, and this is the problem with me listening to you, being interested in what you have to say. Then I don't know what the hell I'm going to say.
Right.
And this is a podcast. I have to change it up. So here is something that really has energized me in my sobriety, and that is TikTok. I'm new to TikTok, and I have tried to engage. And what I've done is I've tried to really train the algorithm to just new people in sobriety. People who are saying, I have 30 days sober, I have 100 days sober, I have 200 days sober, 900 days. But even if you're at 900 days, I'm way above you.
Right.
And hearing the people, and even them posting when they're really upset, that I can diagnose exactly what's wrong because I've been there and seen it over and over again, but it's new to them. And it's not my experience. So when I see new people going through their first struggle with X, Y, or Z, it's the thing that is really helpful for me. And I'll stay on that app, not diverting into dancing cats or whatever the hell is also on there, but just looking at that, hitting a heart, and leaving a comment, trying to encourage somebody that I can spread the message and have connected with some people over there based on my experience. I have to tell you, I have felt more energized doing that than I have in a long time. And it's just seeing new people.
Yeah, it's I'm on the sobriety side of TikTok myself, as a consumer, not a poster, not a content creator at all. But I get fed a lot of that because I do the same thing. I comment, especially early, same thing. I comment early sobriety, keep going, whatever they might need if I'm feeling it. And it's a whole new world. We talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. It's a whole new world out there for different ways to get sober, different ways to engage with a community of sober people. And that is certainly one of them. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen over the next month or so.
It's not going away.
I agree. I don't believe it, but who knows?
Too much money.
I agree. I've never thought that it would, but who knows? I don't get too crazy about it. But there is this whole thing, and I think right now that is the biggest platform. I guess there's other one. I guess maybe Instagram. You know them better because you're on them more than I am. But that seems to me to be the one that has the most freshness and newness, and it's just the way the algorithm works and the way the format is of short videos, not long. I mean, you can get some long videos too, but short videos so that a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes maybe, and it can really grab you. But so anyway, I don't know. It's getting back to our actual topic. There is that I just think about all the time, right? My sobriety is always something I need to be paying attention to, right? Even when it's sort of like it's sort of like firing up your computer, right? You have all these background programs working, all these ones that load up in the background. You don't see them, you don't know what they do, but they're sort of ready there for you when you need them, right? That's why you get them loaded when you fire up your computer or your phone or whatever you might be doing. I have to look at my sobriety much in that same way. Like I need this background program in the back of my head, always turning, always ready. I need it there at a moment's notice, right? And that's where I have to pull in some of those things. Well, I have to watch out for that complacency, and I have to watch out for, me having this thought of not wanting to do something in that ignorance, or that without that contempt prior to investigation, which is a line I love. Mm-hmm. Contempt prior to investigation.
I use it all the time at work.
Right. It's like, why? It's like, okay. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, when I say why don't I want to do Joe and Charlie, I need to sit down and try to figure out why. Right? Like, what is it? Why? Right? So or when I don't want to go to a meeting, it happens to me all the time. I'm going to tell you right now, like, I don't want to go to the Monday night meeting a lot. Yep. A lot. I show up every Monday. But man, there's many a Mondays I do not want to go there. And there's many a Mondays because, for a while I've been sort of like, taking care of that meeting. Like, I should take a couple months off and let that meeting float by itself, right? And the truth is, now it will. There's a few other people who have sort of come in and done a lot of stuff. So, and that might not be a bad idea too. It might be good to let my brain just settle in. Like, okay, I don't need to take care of that meeting anymore. But that's the kind of work I have to do constantly in the back of my head. I have to do it. Sometimes I have to do it in front of my head, where I have to, and sometimes we do that work when we're talking on this podcast. So that's how I feel. Like, I always have to be paying attention to that stuff, because it's very dangerous for me if I don't.
You mentioned something that is sort of my solution, which is changing it up. Again, this is an ADHD thing with me, that too much repetition makes Jack a dull boy, and I have to change some things up. On the one hand, I go to that Monday meeting because I go to that Monday meeting. Right. Once I get out of the habit, it's tough to get back into the habit for me. And what's motivating about that Monday meeting is there are a lot of new people who have come in.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing different things.
Right.
There is also something to the thing around Joe and Charlie. I need to, if I'm going to do something like a Joe and Charlie where I'm studying with another group of men, it has to be something different. And I have to learn something a little bit bigger, which is why a drop the rock thing would work for me. Mm-hmm. I just have to keep changing it up. And maybe that is the case of finding another meeting, another time of the week. I often my default is, let me find some meetings where I know people. Right. And maybe the answer is, no, I have to go find some meetings where I don't know anyone. And not because I'm hiding, but because I just want to meet new people.
Right. Need a fresh take. Need a fresh look. Listen, sometimes that happens, right? To me, I found this new meeting the way I find a lot of meetings. I needed a meeting. I was in a really bad spot, and I needed a meeting. And this meeting is about literally a mile away from my house. And the first time I went to it, I had gone to it years and years ago before COVID. I don't even count those. But the first time I went to this meeting, it was like a 95-degree day, and I'm like, I was just like, I was in a really bad place, and I'm like, I'm gonna walk to this meeting. The 20-minute walk to this meeting, even on a hot day, is going to be good for me. And it was almost all people I didn't know. I mean, there's one guy who started showing up who I knew, but 95% of it, or 99% of the people there, or 95% of the people there, are people that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I immediately. And I think I've mentioned it here before. I immediately liked this meeting. It was one of the other things is, like, we talk about it. The meetings I go to seem to be in this area mostly dominated by men, even if they're mixed meetings, right? And I walked into this meeting, and this meeting could be 50-50, right? This meeting, many weeks are 50-50. And it was just such a refreshing take to have some women's take, some different takes on that I always enjoy. So I found this meeting, like I said, because I needed a meeting. And my default, which I say all the time for anybody out there who's struggling, who struggles and they don't know how to get out of their own way, my default is when I struggle is I go to a meeting. And I don't give a shit if I know people don't know. I don't care what time of day it is. Because if I don't do that, then I just have too much time to think about the worst scenarios, and the worst scenarios always were the reasons why I drank.
For me, I am not in a place where I'm going to go drink. I'm going to do some other things. There's an escalation ladder for me to getting to a drink. For people who are new, that escalation ladder is one rung. There are several rungs for me.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I'm working on is not being miserable. I went to a family gathering this weekend, which is a whole topic in itself. And I walked in with a bad attitude because I knew what to expect. And boy, there are people there immediately just irritated the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Not enough food. The food that was there was really lousy. Stupidity. The conspiracy theories that I heard from people were not things I wanted to do. And I was hungry. So I was hungry. I've been tired this week. I have been, all of the hungry and the tired has made me angry. And I didn't lash out, but I was lashing out on the inside. So I'm hearing the screaming in my head. And that's a sign that and somebody on Blue Sky, because I posted this, and somebody on Blue Sky is like, I want you to breathe with me, which was the sweetest thing somebody on social media has ever said to me.
Yeah.
That she kept just saying over and over again, posting, I want you to breathe with me. And I didn't want to. I'm like, screw you. I don't want to breathe. I want to luxuriate in this feeling.
Yeah.
And I finally did, and I sent her a private message. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you provided nothing but love. I'm better now, but I didn't want to do the breathing. Yeah. And that's where my sobriety journey is, not getting to the miserable part. The drinking at that point is not an issue. It's I don't want to be a prick. And that's the first escalation step. So it tells me I just have to do some different things. And it's not just go to the same meetings. This is where being shy and introverted is not an issue with meetings. I could go to a different meeting and I feel confident because I know I belong. And I know other people are there for the same reason, and they're not going to judge me. So it's very easy for me to go to a different meeting and see different people. And that can be very invigorating for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm just gonna digress just for a little bit here, because you brought something up. I was scrolling through TikTok, and this was months and months and months ago, and I came across this, and this is one of these things where some of the things like what you found on social media there, that person asking you to breathe with them, like how sweet that is, how nice that is, how much you connected to that. I was scrolling through TikTok and I came upon this chef. Cause I watch a lot of chefs too. Look at people cooking, so it gets fed to me. And this guy is doing whatever recipe he was doing. Younger guy, in his early 40s probably, and he's saying, he was doing this recipe, and he's like, okay, deglaze the pan with some wine. And then he stops and he goes, and if you're sober, I'm really proud of you. So don't worry about the wine. He goes, just use some chicken broth or something like that, right? It was said with such love. I mean it. I stopped and went, I have never heard, I've heard other people say that, but this guy, you could feel he meant it. You know what I'm saying? If we're sober, I'm proud of you. If you're, and just do this. So there's so much good stuff out there. So, it's really important that, listen, I don't think, I don't want to give myself, I don't want to be too flip about it. It would take me a lot to drink. Right? I mean, it'd take me a lot. The same thing with you. I don't think that drinking, I haven't been in a situation where I've thought that drinking would be a good idea or a good solution to how I'm feeling in a long time. But here's the thing for me. I know I can get there. I mean this. I know that I could get to a place where, not that I think it'll be good for me, and I never can do that again. Like, I can never drink where I think it'll be a good idea. But I could get to a point where I don't give a shit. And that's a real, and that would be a climb up a ladder. That's more than a one-run climb for me. But sometimes I just feel like life is kicking my butt, and so I got to pay attention to that stuff. I don't know. You got me thinking about going to this meeting, and it's like I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do today, and one of the things I may do today is just like pick a meeting. It's like I haven't been to this 2:00 meeting on a Sunday, before or in a long time. Maybe I should just go check it out and hang out at a meeting. And the truth is, I've done that before because I've been out like Christmas shopping before, and like, okay, what am I going to do? And like literally gone from Christmas shopping to a meeting just to sit in the meeting. It's really a nice way to spend an hour on a cold Sunday afternoon. So it's really, again, it's one of my default mechanisms is to do that. It's one of those things. It's a way to keep me safe. And, I wanted to go back and talk to you about that Monday night, same thing. And we talked about maybe not going to that Monday night meeting, but here's the way I look at going to a regular meeting, like a Monday night or my Friday night meeting, or even my Wednesday noon meeting. Okay. Is I look at some of that as a service commitment. Right? I really do. It's like we go to meetings so that when these new people show up, there's a meeting. And when I showed up at this Monday meeting, I said that to everybody, thanks for being here, because when I needed a meeting, you guys were here. Yep. Right? And just on the same thing is our noon meeting falls on Christmas this year. And last meeting, I said, are we going to have a meeting on Christmas Day? And everybody's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, I think we should. Like, I think somebody should be here. Even though there's an Alcathon right up the street. But I'm like, some people don't like to go to those things. So I volunteered. Like, I have nothing going on Christmas Day. Like, there's nothing going on Christmas Day for us in my house. And I'm like, listen, I'll take the key and I'll come here. And then even if I just sit here and play with my phone and nobody else shows up, right? The door will be open. If somebody's looking for a meeting, we'll have that place, because that's the level of commitment from the guys I hang out with, right? And I told them, like, if this was one of my men's meetings, even if we couldn't get to church, somebody might come and sit in the parking lot in the car in case somebody showed up, right? In case somebody showed up and needed a meeting. And that's just a level of commitment and service we do. So some of the, doing some of this stuff is service work to me. And that's why I said, I have a new sponsee. If he wants to do this, Joe and Charlie, I'll do it, because for me, it's service work, even if I don't want to do it.
I think everybody counts when it comes to sobriety. Like, even if you're not an AA person, even if you have issues with AA, one of the beauties of AA is sometimes the commitment where somebody will just show up in a parking lot and be available just to talk to. Not necessarily, I'm going to beat you over the head about God and the steps. It's going to be, it's a holiday. I'm in the parking lot. I'm going to hang out here. I'm glad you showed up. I'm here just to chat with. I came here because you might come, and I'm glad you're here. And that changes your feeling. And when you see somebody's gratitude, it is really reassuring and rewarding. And I think about that sometimes, that Monday meeting has had like 4 or 5 people in it, and now it's got quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, it comes and goes, but like you said, we got a few new people. We have at least 3 new people who are showing up fairly regularly, right?
Yeah.
And 3 new people are like, oh, that's not a lot. But when you're talking about 12 to 15, maybe 20 people, that's a decent portion of people. If you can get 3, and these 2 of these 3 people have really new sobriety. Actually, there's actually a third one, because he came to the Friday night meeting, young guy. And he even said he's been sick for a couple of weeks, but he doesn't live far from there. He's like, I'll be back to that. I've been sick, so I stayed home. And when you get 3 or 4 new people with new sobriety, especially if they hang around, right? Those are the people that it's beautiful to watch those people come in, to see them like start putting their life back together, and then watch them grow. Like we did that, right? I mean, I was around when you came in, and people were around when I came in, and people have watched us change our lives, right? And put our homes back together for some of us. And it's just a wonderful feeling to be able to do that. And that's why, like I said, that's why I did it. Like for a long time, I didn't want to do that meeting, but I just kept showing up. I kept doing it because, it's what I was told. It's actually the guys who mentored me told me I needed to do that, right?
Yep.
Not that meeting specifically, but I needed to do that level of service, right? And so for me, it worked.
Well, love to hear what you have to say. This is your turn. How does this resonate? Have you been complacent, or have you just been bored or irritated by the monotony? You can follow us on social media, the places that we have a presence: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. The handle is always @SoberFriendsPod. The email, Matt@SoberFriendsPod. The website, SoberFriendsPod.com. You can learn all about the show. Stay connected with us. If you go to... I feel like I'm just doing a laundry list now, so I'm just going to stop. Anyway, Steve, thank you for helping me get out of my... whatever this is.
Happy Sunday, Matt. Get outside, get some vitamin D, even though it's cold. And, enjoy the weekend, today, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you too. I will see you tomorrow, and you'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
See ya.